I'm not. Try to open the email again. I'm not.
Would you rather have bark or stinky poop smell?
What is that mean?
Because it's one or the other. I've tried him everywhere, and he barks, and he rolled in poop.
I don't care, Amy. I can do whatever.
Everybody else put up.
So what? Yeah, we're on. Yeah, no, we're trying to work on something. Yeah, Carlin, I didn't get it.
E.R.A.S.E is an organization. It's a movement. We're talking about unity. We're talking about unity. So we're aimed to taking down the system of race by educating, enlightening, informing, and positively debating with those who have counterviews.
Welcome. It's September 22nd, 2020, and you've tuned in to Edge Radio's Talk About Unity show. I'm Carlin Charleston, the Executive Director of E.R.A.S.E, and I'm here today remotely with my co-host, Richard Jennings. Say hi to everybody, Richard.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? I'm out here in the hill country taking care of a bunch of honeydews, and I'm so excited to be with you guys today, even remotely. And we have a lot of issues as a country, and I believe that talking about things makes it better. It doesn't make it worse. If you can talk about everything, you can get through anything. And with the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Gator Ginsburg, we pray for her family. And there's a lot of turmoil going on in our country regarding her replacement and when the replacement should be. And I just have this feeling that if we can just get to the table and talk about it, that a good solution will come about. But there's been some threats regarding, I believe it's coercion, that if you don't do, have you heard this in a relationship? If you don't do it my way, then there's going to be a problem. I don't really like that approach. We're getting some of that. So, yeah, my hope is that we're going to be able to come together and everybody's going to be happy with the solution. But rarely in politics does that happen. But I think this is a time where some things can work out. There's been some good. The people on the short list sound pretty solid, but there's a process that has to be followed, and that's why we have a constitution. That's why we have laws for even our government, that when they get to the table and discuss this, they're going to follow those processes. And some may not think it's fair, but the appointment, when there is a party that holds the Senate and the presidency, there's been a successful passage of the nomination going through to be a Supreme Court justice all the way back to the 1800s. So there's a solid precedence, but there's going to be some turmoil. Elections coming up pretty quick, and we just need
Let's talk
to.
about that for a second. Let's talk about that because what
Sure,
you were
sure.
mentioning, you were bringing up the point that that this has been the precedent set since the 1850s or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
The big question I always had is, what about the statements made by those like Senator Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell
Yeah.
prior to the in 2016 and 2018, where they
That's
talk
right.
about, if you're in this situation, and even Lindsey Graham said, you can use my words against me. He said, if
Yep.
this happens with the next president, then use my words against me. Is that just politics?
I don't know if it's just politics, but the thing is, in this day and age of television and radio and everything being recorded, especially in politics, um, if you the phrase "eat my words," yeah, some of these guys are eating their words. What they need to do is just be honest. There is absolute hypocrisy on both sides of the aisle, and it has existed for hundreds of years. They
And is
act a
that
certain way when
politics?
they're in charge, and they act another way when they're not in charge. They cry when they can't get their way when they're not in power, and then when they're in power, they act arrogant. And I wished it wasn't that way. And I think it all could change. I'm gonna throw it out there. I think it all could change if there was somehow, some way um, that we could have term limits for everybody.
Ooh,
Because I think
yeah,
there's this, once people are in there for 20 years,
yes.
then it's the same old, same old. So
Which is another topic we didn't choose to talk about, but I'm wondering why, whenever that topic comes up, like it was brought up about 6, 7, 8 months ago by, I think, Senator Ted Cruz, but you don't hear anything
yep.
else about it. That's one issue that everybody in America would universally agree upon: term limits.
Right.
Let's term limit those people. They don't need to serve forever. Get them in, get them out. Let's change faces. Let's change ideas. But you don't hear that from any of the other politicians. What do you think's happening there?
Well, I think the only way those that are in power want to stay in power, bottom line, and I believe that the only way term limits is going to occur is from a grassroots effort. It's going to have to be the people that somehow come together and make this happen. Not on, okay, we weren't going down this road, but since we touched it, let's just go ahead and touch it a little bit more.
Yeah,
The
maybe this needs
the
to be an issue
the
for Talk About
insurance
Unity.
that they have is like a Rolls Royce compared to the Volkswagen that we have. They make us they have their fancy doctors and fancy all this, but yet we have to do what we do, and that's okay. I mean, we need to take care of our elected officials. I get that, but the bottom line is, stop giving yourself all these. What is it? What is it? Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong, Carlin. I know you're not afraid to do that. If once they're in there, they serve their term, then they get out and they're on retirement for the rest of their life. Is that?
Yes.
Am I wrong on that?
No, that's what's so sad about it.
What a deal! What a deal!
What a
You
deal.
don't need any place you can get that gig.
So yeah, so a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Seems
Yep.
like we would be the ones who would make that change happen. I'm
We
wondering
have
why
to.
we can't make that happen. Because I think what you were talking about, those in power like to stay in power. They used all
Sure.
these other issues to divide the people, and now the people don't see them as the bad guys. Like you'll see people talk about, I hate politicians, but they keep voting for theirs. They keep voting.
Yeah.
They stay in office, So
So you mentioned Ted Cruz. He has actually mentioned that. I think you're the one that said it. Mentioned a few months back. That was Ted Cruz about term limits,
Mhm.
and I think that maybe those that know him and those that even don't but are cordial towards him should make that recommendation. There's no guarantee that after his term over that he's even going to run again. So it needs to. If he brings it up, if anybody brings it up, I think it's something that we need to grab and just encourage that to get the ball rolling, because that is not an easy process.
Conspiracy theory. Black Lives Matter was to divert us from term limits.
Wants to divert us from term limits?
Yeah. I mean,
What do you
because
mean?
if we didn't have all the big controversy about all that, we might be focused on that issue that Ted Cruz brought up 8, 9 months ago. So
Yeah.
maybe this was a diversion tactic to keep us from focusing on term limits for politicians.
Yeah. Well,
Ooh.
maybe. I don't know, but those that are in power that want to stay in power are actually in many ways serving a constituency that really likes the fact that they are in power. And I can't imagine. Hey, listen, we could go down the rabbit hole this morning, but the bottom line is we really need to focus. If we're going to be America and stay America, then we have to get to the point to where we say, you know what, this is the Constitution, and we are going to live by the Constitution. And if not, if we start changing the Constitution, then eventually we will no longer be America. So,
And so
uh,
we're talking about unity.
it's about unity. Yep.
Yeah, and it's about unity. So I'm wondering
Yep.
why every time we have an issue where we could be 100% united, why do we not
Yep.
stay on that issue where we're united? Why are we then diverted to something that divides us? And so that's what I'm saying. And when we talk about
Yeah.
unity, the point we're trying to make is there are many things that we agree upon, but it's amazing how society doesn't allow us to focus on those things we agree upon.
Do you know?
Somebody,
I'm sorry. Do you know
yeah,
anybody in America that is not for term limits?
no, I
I
haven't met anybody.
you're
That's what
right.
I mean. We're 100% united on that. But that issue, which all Americans agree upon, and some politicians, as we just cited, we all agree upon that. But why is that not an issue that's on the forefront? Why is that not on something that we're taking action upon? Because somebody is attempting to divide us to keep that from happening.
I believe you.
That's my thought. So that's a
Well,
conspiracy
I,
theory we need to
I
circulate anyway.
yeah.
So, but back to
So
RBG. Back to
yes,
RBG and the threat from people saying if they take this vote on the new nominee Supreme Court, then they have these threats to burn it down. The whole thing is saying they're gonna burn it down. What's up with that?
it's called a terroristic threat. Is what that's called. And sometimes whether it's, I don't even know what group it is anymore. I mean, there's Antifa, and people are blaming everything on Black Lives Matter. I'm sure that there's bad people in every bunch, but you go look at what Antifa did, and then the riots and what people were wearing. If you're going to go tear something up, think about what you're wearing, because what you wear also represents who you are. Because they're looking for the label, they're trying to identify who that is. And if people are saying that they're going to do this, and they fully represent either out of their mouth or what they're wearing on their body or what they're holding in their hand, that if you don't obey us, we're going to burn it down. That's called a terroristic threat. And then you move over into a whole nother level of what could actually happen to you, and what you would be held accountable for if you actually moved on that. So I think just people really need to be careful. If you don't like, if anyone doesn't like the way that politics are going, there's one sure way to fix it, is to vote and to encourage other people to do so as well. But this whole coercion, intimidation, and threats, I think is going to play out. And the people that are giving those threats, they're not going to like the results of doing that. So,
all right. So we need to keep talking about unity. Maybe we can divert some of that and prevent that from happening. Let's create some unity before that happens. All right. We're going to get to the key about our show, where we talk about keys of unity. But before that, we're going to take a break. But before we take the break, let's get an update on what's going on with COVID. You see the news yesterday about the CDC changing their view on whether or not this thing is airborne and things like that. Isn't that problematic for what we're trying to do? I mean, they've been going backwards and forwards, and Trump gets into a fight with Fauci and all these things. How can the American people have any confidence that we know what we're doing related to this virus?
When you look at the raw data and how many deaths, and actually President Trump sued the CDC. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh my goodness!
Said
He sued the CDC. I thought he was the boss of the CDC.
Oh, well, what it was is they weren't reporting the statistics and the data correctly. They were reporting COVID deaths as if the people that were dying in a head-on automobile accident, or it was a homicide, or they were on a motorcycle and they crashed and died. But if they had COVID, they listed it as they died of COVID. And he said that's not accurate data. Those statistics are wrong. List the data of who actually died, and it was only COVID, not COVID related. So that's what's showing up right now, is COVID related, meaning if you die of stage 4 cancer and you died of cancer, but you had COVID, you had a COVID related death. And that some of these people didn't even have symptoms, but they tested them, had it, and they recorded it as a COVID death. And he says, no, 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 no. I want to see the data that says you died of COVID and COVID only. And the numbers just fell through the floor. I don't have the actual number, but it was exponentially less.
Is that somewhere we can find that? Because I want to see those numbers.
Yeah. Just look up the data. The COVID sues the CDC over the corona statistics.
Okay,
You should be able to find it that way.
The CDC. President sues the
Yes.
CDC. Okay.
CDC.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look up that because that would be interesting to know, and that would explain a lot. And not saying that it's verified right now, but that would explain a lot because you look at America compared to everywhere else, and you go, I just don't. It just looks unbelievable. I mean, I just don't believe it at the outset. But we'll see as we begin to investigate. Okay, so all right, you got another statement. We're getting ready to cut to a break, and then we'll come back.
That's fine.
All
We're
right.
good.
So, hey, as soon as we come back here, we're going to get to some keys for unity. We have identified some things because we talk about unity. We want to make sure we give you these tools that are going to be necessary for us to bring about unity. So we're going to inform you of that, and we'll start there as soon as we come back from this break on Talk About Unity.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters.
Come on.
And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad to Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk about unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
Hey, we're back at Talk About Unity, and we've got Richard coming in remotely today. We had a good intro to the show, and now we want to get to the meat of the show, the hardcore stuff that we're talking about on Talk About Unity today. Today, we wanted to really give you some tools, you know, because it's one thing for me to tell you to go and dig a hole. It's another thing for me to give you a shovel, all right? So you need a tool. And so some of the tools that we have today, we call our keys for unity. And our hope is that you will develop some keys for unity in your life. Because as we talk about this stuff, we're doing that to try to get people to initiate some moves of unity in their personal lives. And if we get enough people to do that, we can not just talk about unity, but we can begin to walk about unity. Okay, so separately, Richard and I generate these 3 keys to unity. And so we're going to cover these. And we did these separately, so it's just off the top of our heads. These are things that we think are important as we talk about unity. These are some keys we think that need to be about unity. We got 3 each, so I'll first turn it over to Richard. Richard, let's talk about unity key 1. What do you say? What is the...
Okay, so unity key 1, and when relating to subsidies and a government incentivized tax breaks in business, to create these multicultural, multiracial, if you want to say, these mentorship programs for young people across cultural lines, going into inner cities, businesses that are already successful. I've had this conversation with others about franchise. Many of the franchise perspectives that go out, the portfolio that says, in order to have your store here, then you have to have certain things in play, like a certain amount of businesses and populations and things like that. But if one of the things that could be added was there is a tax break for the mothership, so to speak, of the franchise, who is the whole, like the corporate. If there's a tax break for corporate to go into inner city communities and launch franchises there, and then we're hiring, training, and developing people in business through that strategy, I'm wondering if things couldn't really get launched pretty fast. And
okay, so the key is the multicultural mentorship.
Yes, sir.
And so the rest of that stuff you're saying is how to
correct.
You're talking about how to make it happen. So multicultural mentorship, and that'll give more people access to different people, different viewpoints, different demographics. Is that what you're saying? Multicultural mentorship.
Yeah.
And the
there's
business
some
area you're
people
talking about
that
is a way to fund it. You're talking about how to fund it. You're saying, is that
how to fund it and actually how to make it happen. Some people are intimidated by a community that they did not grow up in, or a culture that they were not a part of.
Mm-hmm.
But when there would be a subsidy or a tax break incentive that says, hey, you're going to not have to pay X amount of taxes, or here's actual funds available to be able to go into these communities and do that. Hey, it's the unseen hand, right, that we've talked about before of capitalism, that all of a sudden the money's kind of steering these relationships. In the beginning, it's not organic, but relationship is this way. Relationship is all about proximity. And once you get into the relationship, regardless of how and why it got started, all of a sudden, excuse me, because of proximity, we're together, we're working towards getting the ball over the goal line together, successful as a business together. Then all of a sudden we've moved into a whole different arena of building unity. Unity is the byproduct of getting it started, and getting it started, I believe many times needs to be incentivized, but going and building these mentorships, multicultural mentorships in the community through startup businesses might actually be a good way of doing it.
All right, it's a good idea. Multicultural mentorship. Put that down for his unity key 1. Okay, and here's my unity key 1. Mine are all F words. All right, so my first F word is forgiveness. I think one of the keys to unity is we've got to let bygones be bygones, and let's so that we can go forward. So my first one is forgiveness. so many times that we're unwilling to release ourselves from our past, and we don't realize that we are hindering ourselves from doing anything else because of our past. And so we use all of that,
Yeah.
and it's baggage that's weighing us down. It's baggage that's weighing our country down, our communities down, because of this baggage, because this thing that happened hundreds of years ago or months ago or sometimes even weeks ago, because we don't have this attitude of forgiveness. And sometimes even those people who are remorseful about it, but we can't let that thing go. And I think that's one of the keys for unity. I always like the biblical story of Joseph. I need to have Pastor Richard telling this story. But Joseph, I mean, when he got to the end of all the bad things that had happened to him, his brothers selling him into slavery, and these people putting him in, wrongfully imprisoning him, and all the bad things that we kind of hear about today, all of those things kind of happened to Joseph. But at the end of the day, Joseph understood when he looked back that you meant it for bad, but God meant it for good, so I'm good, And I think that's the essence of super forgiveness. And I say we need super forgiveness so we can see that all these things, whatever's happened to me, can be used for good if I begin to understand God's purpose in it. So my first key to unity is forgiveness. Okay.
I want to just touch that for a second. Many times at sporting events and different avenues, we say the Lord's Prayer, and we always end for that is Matthew 6, starting in verse 9, and we always end the verse too soon. It says, "For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen." But Jesus continued that in verse 14, and he said, "If you don't forgive others, if you forgive others, your heavenly Father will forgive you. But if you don't forgive others, he will not forgive you." Do we understand the power of unforgiveness?
Oh,
For
wow.
unforgiveness is not an option. If we don't forgive people, God will hold us accountable. I know that doesn't seem fair because some people have really been hurt and wounded and treated bad for decades and even centuries in some cases. But when we don't forgive, we're actually allowing someone else to have that power over our life, over our emotions, over the way that we think, act, and believe. And we forgive not to just release them, but forgiveness releases us first.
That's
It releases
outstanding.
us first.
Oh, great.
So,
That's why it's
yeah.
good to have a Pastor Richard with us today.
Hey,
Outstanding. Add more stuff. Okay, those are our unity key
so
ones.
so
Unity
you
key
you ready
two.
for number two?
Number two.
Are
It's
you
on
ready?
you.
Number two. Okay, so number two, it's all about proximity again. If we can get together, then in many different ways, the barriers come down, conversations start, and things begin to heal. Something that many churches have, they have small groups, but some people don't really understand that concept. But other churches have had either church on the grounds or something called supper club, where people inside the church would like break off into different groups, and there would be a supper club host, which would everybody would bring a dish to their house, and the host family would have supper at their house, and they would do that for an entire year. Once a month or once every other month, they would have dinner at the host house. And I was thinking that works real good inside of the tight niche of a church. And some churches are multicultural, so maybe they're already doing that. But what if we had 50 churches and we made sure that we didn't just stay on one side of the railroad tracks, but we really included the entire community and got all together, and then was really intentional about, hey, let's mix these things up so we're not cliquey, that we're really including everybody, the entire demographic of the church, not just our church, but the church of Northwest Greater Houston or whatever. And all of a sudden we're having dinner together. Something happens when we have dinner together. And so this supper club, multicultural supper club idea, there could even be a theme. Hey, one week it's Mexican food, 1 week it's barbecue, 1 week it's, I don't know, Greek, I don't know, but just to be able to sit at the table and or sit in the house together and have dinner with each other, I think it breaks down barriers. That's one of the things I do when I'm either mentoring someone or digging into something that needs to be fixed in somebody's life. I don't do it when I'm sitting behind my desk most of the time. A lot of times we go to lunch, and man, can we make more progress that way. So that's my
Good.
number two.
And how often would we do that? What would be the regularity with that event?
Well, some supper clubs are once a month, and some
Mhm.
supper clubs are once every other month. I like once a
Okay.
month better because it's a reoccurring
Supper
calendar
club.
thing, and just about uh, really contacting the other churches. Not really, I don't have a lot of experience doing it outside of our church because we're so busy doing our thing, which say sad to say that's the way it is sometimes. But I sure would like to see if we could maybe incorporate that into a multicultural, multi-church thing where a, there's a bunch of us all around a certain region doing that.
Supper club. Boy, that's a good idea. So I'm marking that down for you. Race, the supper club, because that's the kind of thing that we're into. All right. So talk about unity. The second key is supper club. The first one we had multicultural mentorship, and then he had supper club. Okay. I started with forgiveness, and my second key for unity is forward, and it's related closely to forgiveness. I feel like we've got to go forward. We spend too much time looking in the rearview mirror and not enough time in the windshield. So we need to start looking forward. What does the future look like for our country? We start need to think about that because the actions that we take today can determine that. But if we spend so much time repeating or reiterating the events of the past, then I think we're prone to go that direction. It's one of those things where sometimes when you're driving, where you look, you drift. Especially like I do a bicycle riding a lot, and sometimes because I don't have a rear view mirror on my bicycle, I have kind of turned my head to look around. That can be very dangerous because often when you turn around and look around, your bicycle will drift to the direction you turn to look around, and that's very dangerous. And so I think that's the case, and that's what we do in our country. Sometimes we while turning to look around, we begin to drift from our destination, our objective, our destiny, the place that we really need to be. And so we need to first, I think, in forgiveness, free ourselves up to begin focusing on that forward direction, and let's go there. Forward. So my second unity key is forward. All right, Pastor Richard, I know you'll probably have some comment on it. Here.
Well, I do. I used my uncle's brother used to have this big farm, and it was over on Jones Road when they owned a lot of land on Jones Road. Anyway, he would drive down the road, and he would look at the animals that were in the field or behind, or look, and he would turn. We're in the back of the truck, and he would turn all the way around in his driver's seat. He's looking out the back window instead of looking ahead. And the ditches were real deep back then. We're banging on the window. Hey, pay attention to where you're going. It always reminded me that there's a reason why the windshield is always so much bigger than the rear view mirror.
Mm-hmm.
The rear view mirror is there for a reason. It's there to just take a glance at real quick, see where you've been, but really we need to look where we're going. We need to focus on forward. The what happened yesterday needs to be the glance. Don't ignore it. Don't pretend like it didn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
but just glance at it and say, yep, that's where I used to be, or that's where I came from. But let's keep moving forward, and we'll make some progress and stay out of the ditch.
Outstanding, really good, and that's the second part of the story of Joseph. Really, you think about where he came from and to where he was going. If he had stopped at any point and said, all right, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna argue with my brothers about why they did this. I'm gonna argue with Potiphar about his wife accusing me of misusing her or whatever. I'm gonna stay here and fight that thing, and all those things would have kept him from going to his destiny, to get into that place where he really was supposed to be. And so I think going forward is a huge deal. And if we're not able to do that, I think that's kind of the story of what's happening in America, is that we have stopped focusing on what we could be together, where we're going. And everybody has their separate agendas. You have these separate groups. You have the political parties. You have them deciding where they're going to go. When you even look at our professional sports, NFL, NBA, they have all these what I call divergent objectives that are really not, tying together the unity of us all. Everybody has their own agenda. So I think we need to have a more inclusive framework that allows us to get in the same vehicle going to the same destination, to the place that I call America, And I think we got a lot of work in order to make that happen.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. So before we get to Unity Key 3, we're going to take a break here. As soon as we come back from the break, we're going to close out with our Unity Key 3, and we're going to summarize all of our Unity keys, and then we'll be out here on Talk About Unity. Good idea. We had this thing called
We've been out of control since we got hit back in March 2020. Mortality rates keep climbing. Infection rates go up and down and then back up again. How long will this go on? No clear answer. Will a vaccine even be effective as this virus continues to spread and to mutate? No clear answers there either. I'm a trained nutritionist, herbologist, personal trainer, behavior modification, and stress sciences expert. I'm also a COVID-19 and pneumonia survivor. I've watched the continuous wall-to-wall news coverage, and while yes, wearing a mask and social distancing are crucial now, you're not being given important tools that you need in order to fortify your first line of defense, your best line of defense, which is your own immune system. What's going on here? There are simple, affordable, and natural ways to help build your immune system to fight any virus or bacteria now, and it starts inside of you. That's why I need to invite you to join me for Beyond the Mask, an intimate talk about vital ways to immediately begin boosting your immune system. Are you worried about the potentials of a second wave? Are you concerned now that your immune system may not be strong enough? Let me show you now the changes that will allow you to optimize it. Let me show you how to maximize your exercise benefits in a 12-minute routine that you'll do every other day to easily increase your metabolism, strengthen your respiratory and immune systems, and give you better circulation throughout your body. Listen, sugar feeds both bacteria and viruses. Let me show you ways to kick that sugar addiction now and to get some weight off. Let me share with you keys to better nutrition that boosts your immune system. We are all under too much stress, and stress weakens your immune system. It single-handedly leaves you vulnerable to all kinds of health issues and infections because stress reduces your immune cell numbers and their ability to function. Let me show you tools that you'll easily integrate into your daily life now to naturally reduce your stress cortisol response. I also want you to know about some nutritional supplements that have been shown to naturally improve your immune system and your overall health. Since January, there have been over 700 studies released worldwide on the relationship between COVID-19 and vitamin D3 deficiency. You need to know why. You want to improve your own immune defenses now, want to take back your control? Sign up today for Beyond the Mask and join me as I give you information and tools to easily get you back on track towards a healthier overall immune system now.
大家好，我是傅凯，这是我的好朋友 Chris Holland。
I'm Chris Hollins, your Harris County clerk.
Yes， 9月26号礼拜六下午4点钟以后，你可以到我们这个 Midtown Bar and Grill， 这是城中间有一个酒吧，我们大家来庆祝，我们可以来做选举，可以就是 register， 也可以注册，然后选举，然后我们有一些画展，有些音乐表演现场。所以大家不要忘记了，最好赶快来参加我们的这个很好的节目，还有很好的意义。所以大家可以一起见面谈一谈选票的事情，然后的话，大家可以享受音乐、食物，还有画艺术这方都集中在一起呀。不要忘记了，9月26号礼拜六下午4点钟以后到10点。
Hope to see you there.
Yeah， 谢谢。
And things just changed, but it wouldn't take much to get that going again.
And we're back here at Talk About Unity. We're down here at Midtown Bar and Grill, the Edge Radio Network. I want to remind you that September 26th, 2 to 4 p.m., come down for the Voters Summit. Come down and get your voting enrollment on down here. It'll be a great time. We're going to have music and just people to talk to. And we'll be social distancing, so no problem with the social distancing. Wear your mask. Come on down. And that's going to be this Saturday, September 26th, Midtown Bar and Grill, 415 West Gray Street here in Houston. So come and avail yourselves of that opportunity, because the voteless people is a hopeless people. All right. So
Yeah,
come
good,
down
good.
and get that on. Okay. So what we're doing here on Talk About Unity today, we're going over Unity Keys. We're giving you some tools to bring about the unity in your community. And we began with 2 Unity Keys from each of us. Richard's first 2 Unity Keys were multicultural mentorship and the supper club. Both great ideas. We'll put more information out on our Facebook page so you can connect and see what we're talking about there, because I think those are some great ideas. And my first 2 keys were, of course, F words, and we had forgiveness and forward, because we've got to do those 2 things if we're going to bring about some unity. So we're down to Unity Key 3 for Richard, and your Unity Key number 3 is what?
It is a word as well, which is to be intentionally present. We need to be present in every moment in our life. We have no idea who we're going to encounter on a daily basis unless we're a very rigid person. But if you think about it, even as a rigid person, we go to a store and we encounter people we don't meet. And I had this thing the other day. I went to go to my ophthalmologist. They were checking my eyes, and this doctor, very professional, a young lady in her late 20s, obviously from Nigeria. Her accent was popping, and she has me behind this machine, and then she would say, "I need to see. Can you see? Is that better or is that worse?" And she's asking me this, and she was moving so fast. I said, would you please show me that one again?" And I wasn't frustrated at all, and I was really nice. I was in a great mood. And so after about the 5th time, I said, can I look at that just one more time? And I started asking her some different questions beyond that. And she says, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm a teacher." And she said, "Nah, I'm a teacher like that." I said, "Well, I'm a teacher, but I'm a pastor." She says, "That's it. That's it. I knew there was something different about you." And so we just got into this conversation beyond ophthalmology. And it was one of those things where I wasn't in that moment. I wasn't intentional in that moment until she asked me a couple of questions, and then it broke into something beautiful. And I thought, how many times does I hate to sound spiritual. I'm a pastor, so I do sound spiritual
It's
sometimes.
okay. You're a pastor. You can do it.
Yeah. So how many times does God really set us up in life on a daily basis that we miss because we're not intentional and fully present in that moment? We think about what we just did or thinking about what we're about to do, and we miss the encounters that he gives us every single day. And I just think it's so important to do that. A couple of leaders of mine, very close personal friends, one of them is in dirt moving and heavy equipment as a dirt moving company. And the other one is, she's just an amazing lady that is on many of our ministry teams, core ministry leadership teams. And so they're involved in outside the 4 walls ministry. And both of them get invited to minister at churches and events. Some preaching, and it's this I didn't even know this. There was a subculture in church. Did you know there's the Caribbean church? There's a huge Caribbean church presence in Houston. Anyway, my friend, he has been invited to minister at many churches, and he invited me to go a few times. And what a different church cultural experience it was for me when I went. The potluck dinner after the service, which we haven't done that in a long time, but I thought, man, I missed that. And so to see that, Daniel would have never had those invites had he not been fully present and intentional in those moments, just to get beyond, hey, let's move some dirt, to tell me a little bit about you. And then Sandy, my other friend, she's been invited to minister at several conferences. But the thing that I really wanted to touch on, which I really would like to see improve and increase, is the prayer lines. What I get invited, people will call me all the time and say, hey, would you like to be a part of our prayer line ministry? And I said, well, I don't know. Let me see what this is about. And so they connected me onto their prayer line, and extremely multicultural. And the thing of it is, when you're actually talking to someone and praying for someone, and they said, can we pray for you? All of a sudden, I've let them into my life, and now we're engaging. We're not just praying, but they're asking me questions about my life, and I have absolutely no reservations on open up about those. Some would say that is a gift, that's an anointing, that somebody has the ability to get people to open up. But I think you don't even know you have that gift until you head in that direction. So being intentional and fully present is, I think, one of the most important things that we can have to really bridge the gap of unity, build unity.
And I think that we miss out on that in this country because we look at being here. We take it for granted. We don't take this diversity that we have, this multicultural demographic that we have in the country. We don't see that as a benefit. We begin seeing that as a negative. And so,
right,
for the most part, over history, we've segregated ourselves. Some of that was forced on us, of course, historically. But then we were so indoctrinated to that idea that we began to voluntarily self-segregate. And so it works against us now to be in that environment. That's why our churches are still pretty much divided, because we are not trying to be intentional in being present with others. And I think that's the point that you're kind of making. We got to realize that those opportunities happen. And it even happens with people who are part of our same, what we call demographic or our cultural background. We often are not present with those people. It can happen with parents and their children. We're not intentionally present. So that's a very good thing to do, because once you do that, I was talking to my wife about this just last night, I think it was, and I was talking about the great relationships I have with people. And when I say people, I mean, and I need to go through the process and just write down all these thousands of people that I've met in my life so that you can see the color spectrum, and you can see that, man, there are just so many great people out there. And I think that's one of the things, as we look at things like the suicide rate in our country and how that thing has soared recently. I said, all that comes from the fact that we have not been intentionally present. We have not seen the value in other people, because if we did, I said, there's no way I would think of contemplating suicide simply because of the relationships. It's not that I'm a Superman and I'm above doing anything like that, but it's the value that I have in other people. There are people that I so value, I can't wait to see them again. I can't wait to come here on Tuesdays and be with Rich and our boy over here, Vince, and Oscar over here, our studio crew. I mean, because when you begin to value the people, when you're intentionally present with those people and valuing what they bring, you're going to miss them, and you don't want to miss them. Now, we're all eventually going to pass through this place we call Earth, whatever, but I don't want to go early. There's no reason for me to go early, because I got people that I want to build more relationships with till it's my time to go. I'm building relationships, and so intentionally present is very big. We're going to try to do that. I'm going to talk about unity. Good stuff. And you can see I could talk about that one all day. All right. But I got to get to my unity key 3.
Come on.
And my first 2 were, remember, they were the F words. We said forgiveness. We said forward. And my third unity key, which as we close out the day, is faith. And faith is, because most people think of faith and they just go, yeah, I believe in God. And I'm not talking about faith in that sense, although that's very good, because if you do believe in God and you begin to work through what God is telling you, then you'll understand this faith concept. And it is the belief in others. It doesn't mean those people are gods, but you see things in people that you would otherwise not see when you believe in the humanity of us all. And that's what I'm talking about. I made a post on Facebook with Malcolm X, and one of my friends said, wow, Carlin, you're the unity guy. You're quoting Malcolm X. And yes, because if you look at the life of Malcolm X, you can see this evolution that he had, where he came from this place where he hated people who were not like him. I mean, when I say hated, you just go pull up some quotes and you can find Malcolm X saying some hateful things. but where he evolved to. And on the post, I intentionally wrote it down, and this is what the post says. It says, this young generation of blacks, whites, and browns, and whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it. And I, for one, will join in with anyone. That was amazing. Malcolm X said that. I, for one, will join in with anyone. I don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. That's what Malcolm X said. And this was he said that a couple of months before he was killed, but he evolved. And so when we can begin to believe that people can change, people can be differently, then that's what I mean about faith. The belief that this person may hate me right now. And I've had people like that in my life. You might have had some of those people in your life where this person hates me, but I'm going to press in. I'm going to be intentionally present with that person. I'm going to see them change that view because they don't know that they really don't hate me and that they have the ability to love me. That's believing in the ability of people to change. That's a belief in humanity. That's what I want to call faith. Okay? All right. So go ahead, Pastor Richard.
Working in that really fast-paced factory, those factories at Compaq for so many years, there wasn't a lot of time to build up relationship. You were just kind of like slammed into hundreds of new people coming in and interacting with, and if you didn't get it done, they would move you out of the way and put somebody in the seat that would. And so I was in charge of making sure everybody was in the right seat on the bus. And sometimes people got moved so fast and there wasn't a lot of explanation as to why. And I would say this, because especially when they had their face all wrinkled up and angry at me, I would say, here's the deal. You may hate me right now, but the fact of the matter is, you don't even know me yet. When you know me, you're not going to hate me, because I want to see you not only survive, but thrive this environment. Because if you don't thrive, I don't thrive. And if I don't thrive, then all these other people that are like me, that are over some of these things, they don't thrive, then the company doesn't survive. So we're all about the person that's just getting started being successful and in the right spot. So you may say you hate me now, but I promise you when this is all said and done, you're not going to. So it's just important to realize that some people don't perceive us the way that we really are. Don't take the bait of offense. Don't get too wrapped up into that. Move into that place of building relationship and seeking first to be to understand, then to be understood. And you'll find that a lot of the things that divide us can be conquered pretty quick if we just have the conversation.
Good words. You made a good quote there. We need to get some T-shirts that say, "To know me is to love me." I like that. To know me is to love me. All right, that's really good.
You'll love me if you know me.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to summarize all these points, and we're going to be out of here. All right, so today we covered our unity keys. These are the keys that we came up with. Rich got 3, I got 3, and you put those things together, and you can see when he talked about intentionally present, I morphed in everything that I had into what he was talking about. And so that's the key to unity. Unity takes what is offered here, what takes offered there, and brings it together for the good of everyone. And so that's what our unity keys do. Richard said multicultural mentorship, which is really great. And one of the things that we will hope to do out of this Talk About Unity broadcast is continually foster mentoring relationships. And so we're going to work to make sure that happens. And then my unity key, number 1, was, of course, forgiveness. We got to be willing to forgive the things that people seem to be very good at passing on their pain, but we don't pass our purpose on as much as our pain. We need to be more forward looking. And the second unity key from Richard was the supper club. Yo, we can get together and eat some stuff up together, and we can make that happen. I got a huge 16-foot barbecue pit. We can put 30 briskets on there. I got that sitting out in the yard, so we're ready to do that. Let's make the supper club happen, all right? So that's a very good unity key. Let's eat together. I tell you what, because it really, eating together, if you look in the Bible, Pastor Richard knows this, think about Jesus before he went to the cross, the Last Supper. And then even after the first church, after he was gone, it said in Acts 2, it talked about how the people continued in the breaking of bread. So I'm like, man, that's some worship stuff. So that's some worship
Yep.
stuff when we just decide to do some supper club. All right. And so that was the second unity key. My second one was forward. You know, you get forgiveness was the first one. And if we get rid of the stuff in the past and able to forgive people for the past, then we can move forward. And so that's unity key 2, forward. And then the third unity key was Richard's intentionally present, which was really huge because it segued everything that I've been talking about, how we need to value the relationships that we have in our lives. And if we value them, we'll make sure that we're present. We're not thinking about anything else. We're enjoying the presence of the human being that's with us right now. And that was very big. And my third was faith, which those two things go together because my faith was believing in the ability of humans to change. Because if you don't have that idea, then life is, you'll always brand people as they are and never see what can be. All right. So close us out, Richard, and we'll be out for the day.
Well, I'm so excited to come together on a weekly basis with my friend, and in many ways, I believe that we have this opportunity to change some hearts and change some minds. Actually, God's really in the business of doing all of that. You mentioned that word faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is, that means present. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. We got to realize we're not in control. God really is in control. And just seeing that bigger picture and looking at people through eyes of faith, which is faith is simply trust in God. And I trust God that that work that he started in me and going to finish in me, he's going to start and finish that work in other people. And so if they're not at that place that it's pretty evident that they're not, man, don't get so critical. Just find something good. And there's something good in everybody. And just find something good in them and just move towards that. See it, celebrate it, make a big deal out of it, let them know you appreciate it. And you'd be amazed at how many times when you just touch something and just recognize it and honor it and speak to it and celebrate it, that all of a sudden you see this person that had a lot of messed up stuff going on, they start getting better because here's a premise. You will multiply what you magnify. And as we magnify those good things in other people, all of a sudden they start focusing on that. And all of a sudden that is magnified and that begins to multiply in their life. So it's not a hard concept. It's really not. Let's focus on people's good more than we do their not so good. And it doesn't mean that we don't need to deal with stuff and confront things sometimes. It just simply means there's a easier, better strategy. And that's really to see the good in people. So,
amen. So we thank you for joining us on Talk About Unity this week here on the Edge Radio Network. We covered the Unity keys. You can, of course, go look at edgeradionetwork.com or on the Facebook page and find the show again so you can get the Unity keys. And we can meet with you again next week to talk about unity.
About unity.